The history behind Viñedo Chadwick dates back to the 1930s, 1920s, in the early days, when my father planted this property that was called San José Tocornal in the outskirts of Santiago, just by the Maipo River, what is called today the Maipo Alto appellation. In those days, Chile didn't export. We just drank all the top wines in Chile, but it was very famous to produce one of the best Cabernet Sauvignon from Chile, and historically it's been known as the classic terroir for Cabernet Sauvignon in Chile. In Chile, we had land reform in the 1960s, and the property was subdivided, and we kept the core of the property, the core of this terroir, which is today Viñedo Chadwick. It's a property of 25 hectares, and historically, this was where I was born and raised, where I lived with my father, my family, and also it happened to be where my father, as this was a nice big farm with vineyards, my father was also a very keen sportsman. He was the captain of the Chilean polo team. So in this Viñedo Chadwick place, he had his polo field where he would play polo with in the championships. And back in 1993, my father asked me to come and take and live in the property to really. He had already retired, and he asked me to come with my family to live there. And as he was no longer playing polo, I asked him if he would agree that I could convert his beloved polo field into a vineyard. And that for him was quite a tough call. I mean, a very it was his history in polo. He was the captain of the polo team, but he agreed because we knew that this was a wonderful place where we could produce a beautiful Cabernet Sauvignon wine. So he allowed me to plant the polo field in 1993. We had in winter time, and very sadly he passed away a year later. So I always thought I would produce this wine to honor the memory of my father. Mm-hmm. Viñedo Chadwick is a very, very particular terroir. From a climatic aspect, it's one of the coolest places in the Maipo Valley. That's what we call the Maipo Alto, because it receives the influence of the wind that come from the Andes Mountains, directly from the Cajón del Maipo. So it's really the very limit place where you can ripen Cabernet Sauvignon. If you go a bit further, the altitude is 700 meters. If you go further up into the mountains, it will be definitely too cold. If you go towards the coast, towards more the central area of Maipo, it will be warmer. But being in this limit zone is what really makes Viñedo Chadwick quite unique, because it's really finesse. I mean, it allows the grapes to fully ripen, but always with keeping and preserving a very beautiful acidity and complexity. And the soil, the terroir itself, is very unique as well. It's gravel. I would say it's really small round stones of different diameter, but it's really a very, very gravelly soil with very low contents of lime and clay. So it's really a very poor soil. The fertility is very low, but it really gives perfect balance. It's a vineyard where we do almost nothing in terms of taking care of the vineyard. It's just natural. We don't fertilize. We keep the natural vigor, but then we have a very low yield, between 3 to 4.5 tons per hectare. So it's really the perfect balance what we have here in Viñedo Chadwick. This is coming from old glacier era, so it's really a platform of gravel bed. And very near the river, so it has really also wonderful drainage. So it's really a perfect soil for growing Cabernet Sauvignon. The roots go very deep. You can find roots 3-5 meters and furthermore, but it's really a gravel soil from the top, with just 20 centimeters of more sort of soil, and then it's just rocks and gravel. Viñedo Chadwick is I would say we wanted to showcase the modern Chile. It's a pure Cabernet Sauvignon, although recently we have planted a touch of Merlot, Cabernet Franc, and Petit Verdot, perhaps will come into the blend in the future, but for the time being, we've kept it. Every time we do the blending, it has been a pure Cabernet Sauvignon, and it's a wine where, of course, we want to have the power of Cabernet Sauvignon, the richness of this grape variety, but more importantly, we strive for finesse, for elegance, for really, we really look at having a very balanced acidity, a very balanced wine. So it's a wine where the purity of the fruit and the complexity of the wine is what we really aim for. And we believe that's modern Chile, that's for a world-class Cabernet Sauvignon from this historical terroir. That's perhaps the background, but we really want Viñedo Chadwick to represent the future of Chile.